local, and fun. MilfordRadio.com.
This one goes out to anyone who's on coronavirus lockdown with their immediate family. This is the family lockdown boogie. We're stuck here in the house for the next 4 weeks or so, and we won't be going out because the government said no. Just my mother and my father and my sister and me and little Maisie too. So for the family sanity, can't you see what we must do? Hey Graham,
yeah,
do you wanna move?
I wanna move.
Hey Joe,
yo,
can you feel the groove?
I feel the groove, yeah.
Hey Lonnie,
what's up?
Do you wanna take a chance?
Oh yeah.
The family's together, so let's just dance. Lock the door, hit the floor. It's the family lockdown boogie. Incarcerated, blood-related, family lockdown boogie. Dancing queen in quarantine, family lockdown boogie. We can't go out, so we're all about family lockdown boogie. What a
Is that ridiculous or what? The family lockdown boogie.
Yeah.
Well, hola, everybody.
Hola.
Hola.
No, I'm
Happy,
sure he's
happy
looking
Cinco de
for
Mayo.
that family lockdown boogie to go viral.
That I bet you it is. That's from Jack Buchanan's YouTube channel. It's called the Family Lockdown Boogie, so you can check that out. We'll play the whole video at the end of the show. It's worth, I guess, hanging on for a couple, 2 extra minutes. But happy Cinco de Mayo, boys.
It's a great day.
Mio Mayo. So my name is Mark Kaminsky. This is Milford Radio, joined with these handsome guys. We have Dan Zeke and Chris Heiza. It's starting to feel a little bit like it's starting to feel a little bit like Vegas. This is actually a meme that was sent over to me. Everyone is losing money. It's acceptable to drink at all hours of the day, and nobody has any idea what day it is.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Well, guys, last week was a great show. We were joined by Deirdre Doyle. She's a frontliner who lives in Milford and works on the COVID floors at Yale New Haven. She jumped in and actually gave a really good interview about what's really going on in the frontline community. Take a listen to that show. You can find it on the YouTube page or on our Facebook page. We also want to hear from you, so you can chat with us anytime. I'll post a link here in just a minute. We'll bring your video right up. So make sure that you like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guys, one quick question for you before we get moving. I have seen so many people driving their vehicles by themselves wearing a mask. Does anyone have a reason why, or can make me feel better about it?
I don't know the medical reason behind it. Maybe it's psychological. I have no idea.
I think it's a way that they can promote to everybody that, hey, I'm being compliant. I'll just drive around all day with my mask on.
Yeah, and maybe just proving to other people, like, hey, look how safe I am.
Yeah, my car cannot give me coronavirus.
Yeah,
right.
They forgot to take it off though too. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just forgot, like glasses on top of your head.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Great Give. Who's doing that? Heiza?
I'll do that.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to Milford Radio here on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. I don't know if you've heard, but, there's a great event going on right now in the greater New Haven area. It's a 36-hour online giving event to support local nonprofits going on starting today through tomorrow. You can go to thegreatgive.org. Search for your favorite charity and donate. They have already raised over $1 million for close to over 400 local organizations. Currently, if you go to the website, they've had 10,058 donors. Currently up to $1.7 million for 383 organizations. So go on it, get over there, help some people out if you can. Thegreatgive.org.
That's awesome. Well done, Mr. Zeke.
Hey, thanks. I practiced just now.
Literally. A quick shout out. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's just fitting since our guest has a lot to do with this, is I'd like to give a quick shout out to all the teachers out there for doing what they're doing, especially with schools closed, basically a light switch going off saying, hey, you're in school today, and tomorrow let's figure out a plan of how we are going to educate Milford's children. In particular, obviously, I want to give a special shout out to my wife, Sarah, for working her butt off. I don't want to say harder than ever, but she's working really hard, supporting as many of her teachers as she can. Plus, she's teaching at Quinnipiac and taking classes at Quinnipiac. She's just amazing. So to Sarah and to all the teachers out there, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Hats off.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So guys, I was looking at some numbers. It was actually on the patch, came out with some numbers, and it was saying that Milford has 400, this is current, I don't know the exact time that it was taken, but it says Milford has 486 cases and has 52 deaths out of those 486, which is around, call it 10.5% death rate. Connecticut has just under 30,000 cases with about 2,500, 2,556. That's an 8% rate. The USA overall has a 5.7. New Haven County is at 6.3. Fairfield County is at 6.7. Again, Milford's at 10.6. Hartford is the only one that I saw that was over 11%. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously, I think it depends which groups are affected and where the concentration of the infected cases are. You know, when you get the larger numbers, it's going to water it down. But I think Milford had the unfortunate case of nursing homes being infected.
Yeah, you're right.
And, they did. You know, it's just definitely a population that is more susceptible to lean towards the fatality of the disease than surviving. So I think that's skewing the numbers probably a little bit. I don't know. I haven't looked that deep into it, but that would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably guess that. I mean, the education or the access to testing in this area has probably been communicated a lot more to people in Milford, probably. So they're susceptible to going and getting more tests, which would probably show more cases, which could potentially lead to more deaths, I would assume. But
right, that makes sense. Heiza, SCC. Let's talk about some kids. Let's give some props to some kids.
The kids need some props. I couldn't imagine, finishing out my senior year, and this is the last time I may play a specific, sport if I'm not going on to college to play or lucky enough to play. So for a lot of student athletes out there, I'd say it was probably a really hard time to kind of go through and not enter your senior year. They just came out with some, I'm looking for the ad right here. Just came out with some accolades given to a lot of the winter sport athletes. The spring sports really didn't get a real chance to perform and show their talents. But just a quick list of Milford athletes that were selected to the all SCC teams here in Milford. Starting off with the Jonathan Law boys basketball, Deontay Eady was selected, along with Foreign High's John Shannon. So big props to them. They were named to the All Southern Connecticut Conference first team boys basketball team. We had Katie Konareski from Law, who was a second team choice for girls basketball. We had Foreign's Leah Howland, was a second team forward in girls hockey. And we had Milford Co-op's boys hockey forward Evan White was selected first team Division III. And Matt Gilleby was a second team selection as a forward. And Laurelton Hall representing, they had on their cheerleading team, Phoebe Flasco and Kylie Strong were also first team choices. So big props to them. Way to finish their year strong. I'm sure there are a lot of other athletes that maybe didn't get to finish their seasons that would have really made a name for themselves as well. But, good job for these guys being represented here of Milford. And, and for the spring sport athletes, my heart bleeds for you. It's tough, especially when you put in years of practices and late nights and early mornings and everything else that goes into being a student athlete, let alone, the academics of staying on point and staying on the team and everything else. It's a real heartbreaker.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we didn't even get to finish, the winter state tournaments for a lot of different sports. It's hard for seniors, especially, and not just high school, college seniors. It's a tough thing that you didn't get to kind of complete what you started. So, and that's to nobody's fault. It's a tough situation.
No, and I think a lot goes into you never know when your last match is, your last game, your last time playing, whether it's due to injury or something like this, or something it's out of your control. So I think it really just drives home the point that whether it's in sports or anything, we're just live every day like it's our last, make the most of it,
Yeah. And, all three of us were athletes at Ford High School. And, you always look forward to that senior night where not only you could reflect on your senior year or the 4 year or the 3 years prior as an athlete, but it was also your opportunity to, give your parents a little shout out and say thanks for everything you've done. And that's something that was always athletes always look forward to that moment, and it was stripped from them. So, it's too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right to our main guest. We have a very special guest with us tonight. She is the superintendent of the Milford Public Schools. She has a tough job, and that's without the pandemic. But in times like these is when leaders need to show leadership. And I think Milford's in a very good position when it comes to that. And with that being said, I would like to bring on to Milford Radio Dr. Anna Cutaia. Let me unmute you first. Dr. Cutaia, thanks for joining us.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for those kind words, Mark. I appreciate it.
You got it. So this is an obvious, easy opening. Today, the governor announced that schools are canceled for the remainder of the year. I don't think that was a big shock to anybody whatsoever. So a couple different questions on that. Can you tell us a little bit about what the fall may look like? And June 11th is our last day. Is that going to stay that way?
Yeah, so lots of good questions that we also as educational leaders are asking as well. So we'll start with the easy one. June 11th will officially still be our last day of school in Milford. We will continue while the governor closed our school buildings for the remainder of the school year. We will continue distance learning through June 11th. When it comes to the fall, that is quite the big question mark on everyone's minds. So you may know that the governor has a Reopen Connecticut task force. On that task force is a arm of the task force is how to reopen schools. It's the education task force. Our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Cardona, is a co-chair of that task force. And each region of the state of Connecticut has a representative group to provide suggestions to the commissioner and eventually to the governor on what we think is important to consider when providing guidance and regulations on how to open schools. So I'm not sure if the general public knows, but a lot of our decision making when it came to school districts, as well as in Milford, those decisions were guided and regulated highly by the governor and the commissioner of education. So while we made some specific decisions in Milford that were personalized for us, most of them are highly regulated. So I'll use the pass-fail decision as an example. The Commissioner of Education came out and provided guidance where he highly recommended all school districts going to pass-fail. We believe that we will be provided guidance on what school will look like in the fall. There is some talk amongst state leaders that there's potential of split sessions and potentially a gradual bringing back of students as opposed to bringing back the entire student body at the same time. Again, that will be highly regulated and guided by the State Department. It is actually really, really challenging to think through how would you open school without bringing everyone back on day one and not everyone back for a full day of school. It really is going to challenge our mental models and our lens on what schooling looks like. And I don't think we'll see it look the same right now.
Yeah, that's a solid point. That makes a lot of sense. So there's kind of two sides. Well, there's multiple sides to this, but the first one I would like to ask you about is what would you say is Milford's number one priority or goal for the students through this pandemic? And then the next question is going to be the parents, because I'm sure your office has heard very positive things and maybe some frustrating things. And then third would be the teachers.
So first and foremost, always is safety, security, and health of our young people, our staff, and our families. Hands down, we have to first act in a way that will keep everyone safe and healthy. And sometimes that challenges us and makes us uncomfortable. So one of the things that are being talked about is how do you keep students 6 feet apart in a classroom and in a school? Now, you guys are all just talking about being alum from foreign, right?
Yep.
Well, do you remember the hallways in passing time?
Yeah.
There's probably
we were just talking about that.
a foot and a half between people, all of our students passing by. And if you were to walk through some of our elementary classrooms, as Sarah could attest, there is not a lot of room between 23 little people in a elementary classroom. So first and foremost, to answer your question, Mark, is safety and security and health of all of our staff and students. We know that the challenge exists about being able to send young people to school as part of being able to send our workforce back to offices and workplaces. So we're going to have to really balance that, the ability to bring students back to school in a healthy and safe environment so that many of our families and workplaces can get back to a closer bit of normalcy.
Makes sense. How about parents? So here, we have my family in particular have been blessed. I have my own business, so I work from home. My wife is a teacher, so she can kind of help the kids when they're struggling a little bit. But there's a lot of families out there that it's really hard to do the homeschooling. They're not, they weren't teachers. They haven't been teachers. And what would you say to the parents? Because I think for the most part, some parents are very happy, not very happy, but they're getting through this okay. And I know there's a handful of parents that are really struggling. Do you have any messages for them?
Yeah, I think it's a struggle for everyone. For those of us who are working from home or have first responders or people on the front line working outside the home, going to a home school or distance learning from home is a challenge for everyone. And we have heard from families mostly that it was too much. We have heard from some families that felt like we didn't do enough. And quite honestly, I was reflecting on this before taking this interview. It was the week of March 6th that everything was last, quote unquote, normal. We were doing Read Across America in our elementary schools. We brought large groups of students together. We were reading aloud. We were wearing funny Dr. Seuss hats. We were celebrating music in our school month, having large groups of people come together to listen to our students sing and play instruments in the orchestra and the band. That was the week of March 6th.
Right.
And on March 12th, we closed our school buildings. That's how fast that happened.
That's crazy.
So if you think about the impact on families, it's real. And the challenge for any school system, and particularly Milford, to take 14 schools, 5,700 kids, and nearly 700 staff members completely online in a mere 1 month. On March 16th, we started phase 1 of our distance learning. And on April 13th, April 13th, we started phase 3. And that's with a week of spring break in between. So it has been a challenge for families. It's been a challenge for teachers. And let's not forget, it's been a real challenge for our students as well, because they want to be in school. And there is a mourning and a loss for our young people. I think it was already mentioned how difficult this is in our senior class. My heart breaks for them. But it also breaks for all of our young people. Talk to the closest kindergartner you have in your life. They want to be in school with their classmates, and they want to see their teacher and not through a video screen. Right. So the best advice I have would be, while academics are highly important, who would I be as an superintendent if I didn't say that? Number one, I believe my number one advice is to check in on your kids' heart and soul right now, because there is a lot of suffering. And the juggling of completing classwork and working from home and putting meals on the table and maintaining an orderly household and hopefully infusing fun and family time and maybe a little bit of lockdown boogie, I think is what you showed earlier, Mark. That is my advice to our staff and students and families, to just make our relationships a priority right now. I have shared this with our staff before, but when we look back on this years from now, I'm pretty sure no student will tell the story of what a great Flipgrid lesson was delivered. Oh my gosh, I remember that social studies teacher. It was awesome. No, my belief is that 10 years from now, they'll remember how their teacher checked in on them. Yeah. Families will talk about how well Milford Public Schools prioritize relationships before whether we should go with an A, B, C, D, F, or pass, fail. So that's my advice, is to balance life as best as possible, do the best you can. That was our intent in developing phase 3 in our learning plan. It's structure with flexibility. We know that not every kid could be on the computer at 9 a.m. Not every mother or father can ensure that their kid is on a computer at 9 a.m. So that's my advice.
It's great advice.
As a father of one of those kindergartners, I appreciate hearing from you on that, because that's the biggest struggle, is trying to balance the work, but also making sure that they're happy, they're safe, and they're just trying to maintain. So it's good that it's coming from you.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I'm a father of an 8th grader, so that is a question, or not even a concern, but something that we thought about. He's ending his middle school years. What are your thoughts on graduation? I know it's an open-ended question, but have there been any discussions on, will there be a completion, even if it's whenever vaccines come out? But has there been any talk about that?
Yeah, there is a lot of talk about that. And our high schools are engaging seniors, our students, parents of seniors, and of course our teachers, to help us lay out all of our options and try to make the best decision for Milford. So let me start off by saying our decision is, again, going to be highly regulated. We have to depend on the governor's executive orders. The governor's executive orders right now dictate the gathering size of people. So if you could imagine, we have about 200 graduating students, seniors at each high school, about 70-ish students at the academy, I think 30 about graduating this year. So a typical high school graduation in Milford would include about 200 students. And if you include a mother and father to attend that, now you're up to 600 attendees, and let's say another 25 to 50 staff. So now you're up to 650 people attending a graduation. And right now, the executive orders by the governor doesn't allow for that large of a gathering size. So our plans, and as well, it is required that any plans like this would be run by and approved by the Department of Public Health. So right now we have a continuum of options. If I scale it from our least preferred to our greatest preferred, I would say that we are laying out 4 options if we were going to summarize our thinking. One, least preferred would be to do a virtual graduation. We are working on that right now, pulling together pictures to honor our students through a video of sorts. Our second option along the continuum would be to do some type of recognition that would involve families engaging in their vehicle. And we've reached out to a local business partner in Milford that actually would have enough space to allow for the number of vehicles that we would have in attendance at a high school graduation, and hold it completely outdoors with families staying in their vehicles and having some type of public display of students graduating. We have lots of details to work out on that, of course. The third option along the continuum would be, we've been talking to Webster Arena to see if the governor's executive orders allow for a large number gathering. Webster Arena is proposing that they could ensure a safety plan that would make sure that people are 6 feet apart, that the appropriate sanitizing and cleaning would occur, and the seating arrangement in the arena would ensure that people aren't too close together. Again, if the executive orders of the governor allows for large gatherings, that would be a possibility. And of course, our favorite option would be to hold it at each one of our high schools, outside on the football field. We put our students on the field. We obviously, I think all of our options would need to have limited participation, attendance by family members, just because I don't think we'll be able to bring 600 people or more together at the same time this summer. So all of this, we're thinking timeline would likely need to be pushed out into the summer before students go away to their next step in life. We have talked about doing something in the fall, but it feels like it's a little too late. But of course, we would not dismiss ideas that would, number one, our priority is to honor and celebrate our seniors. That is super high on our priority list, and we want to figure out how to do it. And I'm thankful for Milford, the community's patience on as we figure it out, because it's not a Milford only decision. We can't just go rogue as a school district and say, we're going to hold it at Foreign and Law and the academy, and we'll practice social distancing. It really needs to be approved through our Department of Public Health and be in alignment with the executive orders. Sorry, it's a long answer, but it's a big topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Zeke, you're still, there you go.
First of all, thanks for coming on tonight. We really appreciate all the hard work you've done for Milford. And I do not have children in the school system. I have nephews and nieces, but I'm also support staff for Mark and Chris for whenever they need to vent on their daily activities with their children. But as you know, this is a worldwide problem, and it's something that will probably be talked about in the history books and be talked about forever. As far as education goes, obviously everyone has made a lot of changes, has changed a lot of their daily patterns. Do you feel this there might be some historical changes to education as a result of this pandemic?
I hope so. I hope all of our lives will be changed forever, right? I think of life right now as in terms of it's gotten a little smaller because we're getting bits of pieces of information in smaller bites because we don't really understand the big picture of life. Like, we're not really sure what next month will look like. I think life and schooling could potentially be simpler, that we boil down what's really important in education and prioritize that. And I think with the use of virtual learning, where we are ourselves learning lessons around what can be consumed in a digital fashion and what needs to be held special for interaction between teacher and student. I think we learn lessons on so much is consumable through online resources, right? At one time, I'd like to tell this story maybe before you guys were younger, but there were only a couple of sources of knowledge when I was growing up. The Encyclopedia Britannica, you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the public library, and my teacher and my mom and dad. Those were the primary sources of knowledge. But now we have a lot of information. It's not all good information, but a lot of information. And I think this is causing us to question, how do we consume and produce knowledge inside our schoolhouse, and what happens outside our schoolhouse? And I think that's going to forever impact the interaction between teacher and student. At least I hope it does.
Yeah, I agree with you. We only have, I don't know, what time is it, 8:30? We have about an hour and a half left of questions. So,
no problem.
No, I do want to wrap it up. Two quick things. One is, we talked about high school graduations. Is there anything talked about for middle school? And then the last question I kind of want to leave you with is, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. So let us maybe a little bit on the inside to see how hard these teachers are working. What are they doing? I get to see it from the inside, and I know they're kicking butt. But it would be great to hear something from you.
What was the first question, Mark?
Middle school graduation.
Middle school. Not personally driven whatsoever, right? So I know you have an 8th grader, and I think you will be hearing from your middle school principal sometime next weekish.
Great.
They are planning something special to honor our 8th graders, as I know that our elementary school principals are working with our PTOs and PTAs on how to honor our 5th graders. The same priority exists for our 8th and 5th graders. Safety first. We need to make sure that we're staying safe and healthy. We're going to respect and abide by the executive orders of the governor, social distancing, etc. So we're trying to be creative. I don't know that we are going to rent the Webster Arena for that.
Right.
But I heard, I'll float out a little sneak peek. I heard something about curbside celebrations, and that's all I'm going to say for 8th grade. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
And thank you. I'm hoping to end with a moment of personal privilege as related to our staff. So I know Teacher Appreciation Week, but it takes a lot of people to really get to the hearts and souls and minds of young people. And certainly I'll start with our teachers. We closed our school buildings on March 13th, and by April 13th, we went into an interactive learning environment. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know a lot about Flipgrid or Screencastify before this all happened. So imagine being a teacher who potentially learning curve is also a steep one in this area. So a lot of teachers spent a lot of time, learning distance learning. That distance, you can't just take your bell schedule and your lesson plans from your high school civics class and now just put it online. There was a learning curve for all of us on how to do that. We also can't forget that our teachers have families of their own. As Mark, I think you're experiencing, they also have young people. They also have parents and the elderly in their home potentially. And we have had, as you were citing statistics, our households have been hit hard also with this pandemic, this illness. So we have to celebrate and give a big shout out to our teachers for the incredible work that they have and just record speed getting online and interacting with our young people. And number one priority was to check on their hearts and soul. But if I could extend this into sort of a staff appreciation week comment as well, our custodians haven't stopped working. They've been in our buildings, cleaning and sanitizing, and just waiting for the day for us to get back. Today's message was hard for many, many people, including our custodial staff. I want to give a big shout out to our food service department. I don't know if you know this, guys, but they are serving about 8,000 meals to our young people's families each week.
Wow.
Breakfast and lunch for 7 days, equaling about 8,000 meals since the start of this pandemic. Big shout out.
That's great.
To food services. Our administrators have been working nonstop to help support teachers, students, and families. And it just has taken our entire team to learn more about distance learning and to make sure that we are prioritizing kids and making sure that all of our families and kids are okay. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to express my gratitude to our entire Milford Public School system.
That's great. Well, we want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I think we covered a lot of different topics, and we really appreciate the hard work that you, your teachers, all of the staff are doing for our children, which is number one in this community.
Well, thank you. I know we couldn't do it without the support of our community and political leaders, our families. Milford is a great place to be, and I'm so
really
grateful to be part of it. So, and thanks for inviting me tonight. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you, Dr. Cutaia.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much.
That was a great interview. Give us some feedback. Start with Heiza. What did you think?
I was trying to choke out as my eyes were watering up, thinking about my kindergartner and the little kids and everything else of what they're going through right now. Really good to hear from her as far as, the safety and mental health of the students. I think take the priority over. They're gonna have time to catch up and learn their ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. They're gonna have time to catch up on that. I think it was just a good takeaway to look at what your priorities are, look at what you're trying to accomplish, get by the best way you can, but having the mental health of your little ones at home, I think takes priority over rushing to open up the Chromebook and freak out because a kid didn't get something done or whatever. It's going to happen. It's new to everyone. And it's really just to do those check-ins with your kids, as you said, I think are, priority number one.
Yeah, Zeke, what was your takeaways there?
I think overall, just as Heiza said, the mental health aspect of what's going on is, a number one. I think we've really, from her insight and from you seeing the behind the scenes with Sarah and Heiza, his work ethic with his kids to get them going. I think we're just seeing the surface of it. I think overall, everyone's really just working hard to make sure that, we can get some normalcy back to the classroom. So not only the children's lives get back on track, but, parents and work schedules. I mean, the children are the heart and soul of what's going on right now. And we got to make sure that we take care of them. That's what I got out of all of our discussions,
Zeke, it was actually your question, which was, I think the answer that it really stuck with me was the question you asked, which was, how is this going to change education forever? This pandemic, it happened. We shut down very quickly. Milford Board of Education did a great job, or the teachers and Dr. Cutaia and everybody. But her answer was interesting, which was, I hope so. I hope it changes. And I think getting down to the bottom of that means, like what you just said, Heiza, like what's important? It is having a strong family, spending more time together, playing some board games, going on a hike. Yes, maybe we're spending a little too much time together, but I think that is what is important and what's going on right now. And, if we can learn that, and as we get out of, being locked in our homes, so to speak, if we could have a little bit more family pride and a little bit more love to your family and to others, we're not the easiest species to deal with, and I think this is kind of putting things into perspective.
Definitely priorities. And I'm sorry, Zeke, and not to put words in Dr. Cutaia's mouth there, but maybe also technology aspect and how we apply the technology, what we're learning right now, and what actually needs to be accomplished in school versus out of school, and the access to information, everything else that our students, our kids have access that we didn't have access to. Maybe it's not the teacher's job to take, A and bring it to B, but it's their job to say, all right, you find this information out, you're able to do this on your own. What do we do with it then? And, I think evolving the education system as a whole, I think maybe that's where she was coming from too, is moving forward of just rethinking how we school our children.
Yeah, and I think, being, I'm going to say in America, with the go, go, go attitude, and we always want more and more and more out of everything, I think this is giving us an opportunity to take a step back and look at the whole life as a whole and saying, hey, do we really need to, have that attitude going forward? There should be more family time. I mean, if you think about it, in the 70s, there was one parent working and someone stayed home with the kids, but economy, standard of life, all of that, as it demanded more out of the family, that was taken away from the family time with the kids. So hopefully, with these ideas as in education and with family time, that that can be built into a new schedule, a new structure for education.
Totally agree. I think it comes down to family values, and again, every family is different. There's certain families that don't have the luxuries that other families do, and I get that. But everyone, hopefully, we're going to get through this. It's just how we're going to get through it. Like I'm going to get through it different than you, Zeke, and then you, Heiza. But we're all going to pick up something that hopefully will make us better on the other side of this, which there will be another side to it. Speaking of that, we got a message from the Honorable Mayor Blake yesterday about beaches, the tennis courts, of course, his favorite sport in the world, the pickleball courts, golf course. He loves pickleball. The orchards, the golf course in Milford, they're all opening up now this week. I think the orchards officially opens up tomorrow. But there's the caveat of you have to be a Milford resident. And on the beaches in particular, no chairs, no blankets, no bonfires, no coolers, no groups, no sports, basically no real reason to go to the beach. Because I could do all of those no things in my backyard and throw, without the sand. But I think the question lies in how are you going to say, you're from Milford and you're not from Milford, you get off the beach and you stay on the beach.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. And I think it's more just maybe just getting the word out that keeps a certain percentage of the population away. I think what they were running into is so many neighboring towns closed their areas sooner, and they had nowhere else to go. So you had people from West Haven spilling into Milford. I heard a story of someone that came down from Hamden and asked someone else on the Fort Trumbull beach where the public restroom was. Now, obviously, anyone in Milford knows that, hey, there's no public restroom here, and obviously, you're not from here. I think it just goes to trying and limiting the numbers and exposure, and that's the name of the game. And it's tough. It's not like we are, wasn't it like Westport or Greenwich maybe a decade or so ago where they basically wanted to just make it against the law for anyone from out of town to visit their beaches. So instead of like making it illegal, they just charge like $50 for a day pass.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. One way around it. But obviously this is a different approach. This isn't like, hey, we're from Milford, we only want Milford people. This is about safety in numbers, smaller numbers this time rather than large numbers, but safety in numbers and keeping things limited. It's a good move. I don't know how they're going to enforce it though.
I think there was one thing in something I read, it was probably Ben's proclamation. There's so many times that the proclamation says, whereas you can only park here.
It's a tough document to read. I didn't grow up in the 1700s.
Yeah, exactly right.
But there is something to do with parking. Like they're shutting down parking on not only just the parking lots, but like the streets surrounding that area. And they'll be checking ticket, the license plates and stuff like that. So maybe that's one way. Yeah. So they could have the police academy, like Sweet Chuck and Zed walking around checking license. So speaking of that, being able to access the beach stickers is going to be a big one. The problem is you can't get to the tax collector to get your beach sticker. Right. So they're doing it by mail right now, and you can do it online, but then they still have to mail you the sticker. So it is going to take some time. So that's not going to be the end all be all, but it is what it is. But I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah,
Zeke and Ivy,
interesting. What?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's good to see the orchards are open again.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I haven't lost a ball over there in a while.
You haven't played in a while.
I'm gonna have to make my golf comeback at the orchards.
Yeah, you've been MIA.
3 years.
Who was it? Rory and someone else are playing for charity coming up in a couple weeks. Maybe we should have a Milford Radio tournament.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, groups of one. Is that the one with Jordan and someone else?
Jordan, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That was
Tiger.
one other one I heard of. Rory and Tiger. No, Tiger, Phil, Jordan, and Brady, I think, were one of them.
Right.
But I think TaylorMade is just sponsoring one with Rory and someone else. It's like a $3 million to charity tournament. Yeah.
Right. That's cool. Well, what I was going to say is the two of you guys were lifeguards.
Yeah.
Right? For years. Heiza had like bleach blonde hair. He had highlights.
You got the wrinkles to prove it.
Yeah.
Zeke never had his shirt on.
I keep it on now, though.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is there were 2 more people this past weekend that were rescued from Charles Island. How many times did you guys either see it, have to deal with it? It's been going on for decades.
Oh yeah. People don't realize. They don't know what tides are. They don't know when it comes in. They don't know how long it takes to get out there. First of all, anything on the water is farther than it actually is. It always looks closer, but it's actually a mile to get out to Charles Island. So it's a long walk for some people, and they don't realize that once that tide shifts, it covers that sandbar.
That's a good way to figure out if you're from Milford or not. If you're walking your ass out there, you're not from Milford.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. That is a giveaway. Yeah, there's so many times. Yeah, we had to. We closed the beaches at 4:00. It'd be like 3:45, and we'd see someone like walking out there. You're like, oh God, like
get
it's
the boat
time
ready.
to go home and everything. But you want to keep them safe. But you have to hop in the little inflatable Zodiac boat and race out there to go pick them up.
Yeah.
Not that we had anything important to do after the beaches closed. That was a much simpler time. Like, how fast can we get to Archie's after?
Yeah. Plus, the island's not looking too healthy lately. I don't know why anyone would want to go out there anyway. It doesn't look too inviting.
You're right. You're right. It's pretty bare. Pretty bare out there. The other week was the NFL draft, which is actually, I thought they did a really good job with Goodell being at home and everyone being at home. There was that one dude who was in a robe, one of the players. That was pretty funny. But one statistic that I saw from a Milford person, I can't remember who it was, they posted on social media, that take a guess where the current Denver Bronco head coach, Vic Fangio, where did he coach in 1982?
I mean, guess Southern.
I have no idea.
Milford Academy. Milford
Academy. Oh.
Yeah, go Falcons.
What were they? The Falcons?
I think they were the Falcons.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
But
that's what Google told me. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. 1982, I was probably just out of diapers. I was just out of diapers probably.
No, you got out of diapers around 12, didn't you?
Oh man, that's true. So
in second grade.
Zeke was graduating high school. We always joke with Zeke that he's so much older than us, but in fact he is.
Yeah, we're right behind him.
Yeah, we are. We are.
That's good. That's a little interesting tidbit. I love that Milford trivia, Milford Academy history. Remember who was the NBA player that played there for like
Yinka Dare?
Yinka Dare, right?
You say Manu Ball.
Yeah.
I
remember him walking down the streets of Milford one time, and he just obviously, he was like 7 foot, so that didn't fit in either. Yeah.
He would play basketball behind the library.
Yeah,
he was going to Milford Academy. He played down there, and not many people shaped like me were going against him.
He was probably picked first all the time,
Yeah. I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take Heisen. So, guys, overall, I think this is a really good show. I saw the live listeners coming in. There was quite a few. We had a great response on the chat between YouTube and Facebook. Please like our pages. There's a lot going on in the city. We're not sure. We'll talk about it right after the show, what our next interview will be. But please reach out to us. Our email is milfordradio@gmail.com. Whether you're looking to be on the show, you have an idea for the show, you're a local musician and you want to do one of the parodies of COVID or release a new song, reach out to us. Be part of it. This is all about you guys. The three of us schmucks here, we're not getting paid. We're doing this for fun and trying to get the most amount of information out. Yeah,
it's really just all about community. And the COVID information is pertinent and important, and it's important to what everyone has to hear now. We don't want to make every show about this though either. We like to look at the brighter side of things, and we look for good show ideas and guests. And I like the idea of musical performances and everything else, and getting some entertainment out there. That'd be great. Before I take off, I just want to say again, to bring up the Great Give. We have a number of loyal listeners that are constantly looking for that extra, help to help their needs and their charitable organizations. Please go on there, try to support local, try to support people in your community doing good. If you have it, by all means. It's not anything that comes easy these days, especially with people out of work and everything. But if you do have it, really take a second chance, a second look at things, and see how you can help out.
And that goes with retail too. Shop local. Yeah. I mean, we always talk about that, like American Express has that shop local Saturday and all this stuff. Like, do it on a regular basis. Dick's Sporting Goods will be okay. Shop the local guy. Same with groceries or whatever it may be. Go to the mom and pop and try to support your local person. Sorry to cut you off, Steve.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, before we sign off here, I just wanted to thank everyone in Milford from every level so far, all the whether you're government, education, nursing, anyone that's making masks for people and donating them, just keep it up. And, that's definitely what Milford is all about. And that's what we love to see here at Milford Radio.
If you guys want to start dancing now, you can do it. Because it is the family lockdown boogie. Thanks for listening to Milford Radio. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. Here you go.
This one goes out to anyone who's on coronavirus lockdown with their immediate family. This is the family lockdown boogie. We're stuck here in the house for the next 4 weeks or so, and we won't be going out because the government said no. Just my mother and my father and my sister and me and little Maisie too. So for the family sanity, can't you see what we must do? Hey Graham,
yeah,
do you wanna move?
I wanna move.
Hey Joe,
yo,
can you feel the groove?
I feel the groove, yeah.
Hey Lonnie,
what's up?
do you wanna take a chance?
Oh yeah.
The family's together, so let's just dance. Lock the door, hit the floor. It's the family incarcerated, blood-related, family lockdown boogie. Dancing queen in quarantine, family lockdown boogie. We can't go out, so we're all about family lockdown boogie. What a treat it is to be locked down with these three, because we can't get on each other's nerves if we're dancing constantly. We're staying strong and getting along, cause that's just how we do. Won't let this virus divide us, so try this with your family too. The streets are empty and the doors are locked. We've got time plenty and the fridge is stocked. We're a nuclear family and we know how to rock. So lock it down and turn it up right now, you don't need to stop. Lock the door, hit the floor. It's the family lockdown boogie. Incarcerated, blood-related, family lockdown boogie. Dancing queen in quarantine, family lockdown boogie. We can't go out, so we're all about family lockdown boogie. Now wash your hands, do not touch your face. Cough into your arm, keep 2 meters of space. Stay inside your bubble, don't forget to smile. And for the next 4 weeks, do a family lockdown freestyle. Hit the floor. It's the family lockdown boogie. Incarcerated, blood-related, family lockdown boogie. Dancing queen in quarantine, family lockdown boogie. We can't go out, so we're all about family lockdown. Lock the door, hit the floor. It's the family lockdown boogie. Incarcerated, blood-related, family lockdown boogie. Dancing queen in quarantine, family lockdown boogie. We can't go out, so we're all about